Hey all, this is David Ducker coming back at you, and today I'm going to be doing a session recap video on Return of the Runefangs, Session 9! Perhaps the best session that we've done so far. I can't tell you how much fun this session was, but before I launch into it, I'm going to remind you once again that we've got the Facebook group up. Go on Facebook, type in Return of the Runefangs, and click on that group. You'll get all the NPC portraits, the PC portraits. You get all the maps of the world, and there are a lot of maps of this world. You also get notes on the setting, as well as links to the wiki on the setting, which is, of course, the Warhammer Fantasy setting. So it's been running since 1985. It's a big setting, very well done. And of course, you can interact with myself or with the player characters right there on the Facebook group as well. So I think it's a great tool to follow along and not get everyone confused, because you can see what they look like. Some of these cats look really different from one another, like really different, which is great. But back to the matter at hand. When we last left, our daring heroes, they had departed Nuln on board La Guadalquivir. This would be, of course, Alaric Berengar, Theodore Lyons, of the Most Noble Order of the Blazing Sun, Captain Camilla Valise, it's her ship, her rules. Who else do we have? We had Blaine Charrington on board from House Charrington, the Vampire Slayer. Buck Salder was there as an NPC accompaniment, as well as, of course, the crew of La Guadalquivir, Grom Norn, Dwarven Grenadier, his son Mor Norn, named after the god of death, Folstag, the priest of Manon, the god of the sea and the waters. So we started off with some role-playing among the crew. As you can tell, there's a diverse cast on board. There's actually a foreign knight, but of the same order as Theodore. So they're both members of the Most Noble Order of the Blazing Sun, but they're from completely opposite sides of the world. So they're very, very different from each other. This was, of course, Rodrigo Quebrada. So he had a great scene talking to Theodore about the differences. They even had some sparring. Rodrigo uses a rapier, and Theodore uses a two-handed sword, a great sword. So their sparring session didn't last long, as Rodrigo pretty much surrendered immediately. And we got to know Grom a little bit better as well. And Blaine was talking with his squire, who I believe his name is Pavel, although that might in fact be untrue, but we're going to say his name is Pavel. And Blaine was talking with him, and they were doing some sparring as well. And as this is going on, they see like a tiny blot of sail coming up behind them, and the blot gets bigger and bigger, and there's another ship that's coming up behind them to overtake them, and it's bearing the spear and shield and sun design of the Tylean Mercenary Guild. And when they see this, Theodore's like, oh crap, because the mercenaries have been coming after him, trying to assassinate him at the behest of the Thieves Guild, the Bridge Rats. And Theodore now knows why as well, although no one else does. He had a private scene as he interrogated the guild mistress who they've captured, Lorenzia Edelstein. But this Tylean ship comes up behind them, and I believe they actually started to pull away, and it fired grapnels out of its ballistas, so they managed to pull up right close to each other, and their archers are all primed, and Camilla's called up her men at arms, so she's got musketeers, arbalestiers, and as well as swashbucklers with rapier and buckler. And she can see they have archers and they have hoplites equipped as well. As of course, Tylea is it's the Greco-Roman area in Warhammer, and even this far away from home, they try to maintain their traditions. So we came in and we actually had some guest GMs here playing the Tyleans. Josh Powers Pullman had returned from his archaeological expedition in Jordan, so he was coming in to play the first mate of the ship, and Charles, who was playing Sauvage, but Sauvage was staying in Nuln. So Charles came in for this session as a co-GM. He's playing the captain of the ship as well. Selrak, the Cell Axe with his big axe. The ship they had named the Bitch's Fury. I believe Josh named that. That sounds like one of Josh's names. But they basically said, surrender Theodore Lyons to us, and the rest of you can go free. We only want the knight. And Megan came in playing Camilla, and she's like, that's not happening. This is my ship. These are my rules. No one gets taken off my ship unless I want them thrown off. And, a melee ensued, basically. So they're exchanging fire. The archers and javelin throwers on board the Bitch's Fury versus the arbalestiers and musketeers on board the Guadalquivir. And they actually managed to separate, get some distance away from the Bitch's Fury. And then Camilla orders them to drop anchor and use it to spin around so they're face to face, because they have a big cannon. Grom Norn has a big cannon mounted on the front of the Guadalquivir. So they managed to execute this very difficult maneuver because the Estalians are the finest sailors in the old world. So they execute this maneuver. They fire the cannon, and they miss. The cannon misses. And now the Tyleans come in, and Selrak is played by Charles, like, ramming speed! And he comes in. There's a big iron ram on the front of the Bitch's Fury. They're firing their ballistas as they're charging, and they hit just off center of the front of the Guadalquivir. They busted a huge hole in it, and their ship stuck in, and Selrak is then reverse so that they can pull out, and the water will rush into Guadalquivir and it'll sink because the hole is enormous. But unfortunately, his men can't pull loose from the ship, and then the soldiers start charging across the decks at each other. Blaine Charrington, of course, he's got his shield and sword, and he's leading them onward to glory. And Selrak was seeing them coming. He pretty much just takes up his axe, starts chopping through them. So really, really fun combat. And then the next round, Grom actually he reloads the cannon, and the way the ships are stuck together, the cannon is pointed right at the side of the Bitch's Fury, and he blasts an enormous hole in the side of the Bitch's Fury, and it starts to sink. And it's dragging the Guadalquivir down with it. And this melee is going on, and the ships are sinking. The melee is trying to keep above the water line. And during all of this, Theodore actually jumps off ship as if he can swim. Although I don't know that he can swim, but he basically leapt from the ship. Everyone else is in the melee. I think Ulrich actually leapt after Theodore, and Blaine abandoned ship too. And Camilla absolutely is refusing to abandon her ship. Like, she's determined to go down with it. And so is Grom. Actually, Grom was wounded, a ballista bolt through his leg, which is quite a bad wound, you can imagine. It's like having a spear impale your leg. and he's wearing full dwarven plate, so he's not swimming anywhere. And he's basically saying, leave me, I'm going down with my beloved cannon. And he's like hanging on to the cannon, and he won't let go of it. His son is trying to pry him off. Norn is trying to pry him off, and he's beating his son away. And Camilla is going to town on these fools. She killed Josh's character. They had a great duel with Josh using a large shield and spear. He's using the spear with a lot of dexterity, and she is, of course, using a buckler and rapier. She's got a lot of dexterity. So a very, very dexterous combat, and eventually she manages to slip in close to him, and I believe she kneed him in the balls. And when he fell to the ground, she just casually pulled off his helmet and then crushed his skull with her buckler, as her preferred weapon is actually the buckler. It's not the rapier. The offensive weapon is the buckler in her case. So she killed him, and then Charles, playing as Selrak, came in, engaged her in basically the opposite kind of combat, where she's very agile. He's just a mound of muscle and armor and toughness. And they had a very different kind of duel, again, while the ship is sinking around them. And eventually, just as they're going down, she gets in close, and she actually does stab him with the rapier, and he grabs her. He actually pulls her close, and he starts he actually grabs her, and whoosh, into the water, because he knew he was going to die. So he just grabbed her in a bear hug and threw himself into the water. And of course she couldn't disentangle herself. And we had this great underwater scene where she's trying to get free of him, and she's smashing on his wound, and he won't let go, and he's hooking his fingers into his gauntlets so he can't let go. So we had this great underwater scene, and then just as she's kind of breaking free, we end the scene, so we don't reveal what actually happened to her. This pretty much ended the session. It was pretty much a big combat session. We got all our mass combat rules utilized. We got a lot of personal combat utilized. So it was tremendously fun, and just the duel on the sinking ship was great. So a huge amount of fun. Great to have Josh back, of course. And this is actually advertised as the last appearance of Megan as Camilla, and the last appearance of James as Sir Theodore, because they're both moving. Megan is moving out to Ottawa, the capital of our great nation, which is Canada. And James is moving to Montreal, which is the capital of the neighboring nation of Quebec. That is a Canadian joke. But they're both moving away. So this is their last session. So, I talked to Megan before the session, and I'm like, well, if you're moving, all of your NPCs are still going to be here, and your character will go into NPC mode, like Rick's did, for example, when Rick left. And I was telling her, I don't like your characters. I don't want to play them. And I'm fine with you playing them, and doing a little bit with them. That's cool. And I told her right when she made them, I didn't like him. And she said that was cool. And it is cool because she does like them, and she runs them so well. She doesn't need the GM pulling for her, because she's so talented. There's no problem at all with that. But anyway, this is supposed to be her last session, so I'm like, let me sink the ship and kill everyone, and this way it's ambiguous. Maybe they're not even dead, because they just went under the waves. So they could resurface anywhere, anytime. And she's like, that's great. We'll do big combat, lots of fun. And this is a session that resulted. And it was a big combat, and it was a lot of fun. So, salute to you, Megan. I hope you have fun in Ottawa, and then I believe she's actually joining the Army after that. So I hope she has fun doing that. I know she'll enjoy it. I don't think I'd enjoy it, but I know she will. Her daddy is a lieutenant colonel in our armed forces. He's in the artillery regiments, I believe. And she, of course, is going into the Corps of Engineers. She's a nanotech engineer. So I'm sure they'll find something for her to do there. But she's done a great job, really brought a lot of wonderful scenes and creativity to the game, and she will be sorely missed. Also, of course, James is leaving. I guess we'll miss him too, I guess. But you'll have to tune in to see how James's adventures in Montreal work out. And I have a sneaking suspicion that he'll actually be back pretty soon. So I'm going to be signing off right there. Tune in, same Runefang time, same Runefang channel for more Return of the Runefang.